Max Verstappen just broke his silence, and what he revealed about McLaren has the entire Formula One world in disbelief. What exactly did Verstappen uncover? Are there irregularities in McLaren's dominant performance no one saw coming? Wait until you hear the inside details from the paddock, what Laurent Mekies said behind closed doors, and how this impacts the championship run with just 3 races to go. Strap in for a wild ride as we break down this bombshell development in Verstappen's epic race in Brazil, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update from the world of Formula One. Brazil was supposed to be damage control for Max Verstappen. Starting from the pit lane, few expected anything more than a quiet recovery and maybe a top 5 finish. But Verstappen doesn't settle for survival. What the world witnessed wasn't just a comeback, it was a warning. Lap after lap, Verstappen cut through the field like a scalpel through silk. By the checkered flag, he had done what most thought impossible, drag his Red Bull from dead last to the podium. But while fans cheered the comeback, Verstappen's focus was locked on something else entirely: McLaren. Because while Verstappen was carving up the midfield, the McLarens, especially Lando Norris, were running like machines. Fast, balanced, too perfect. In the debrief room, Max didn't just talk about his race. He asked questions. Serious ones. About McLaren's rear wing flexibility. About sudden performance spikes in the middle stints. About power unit modes that didn't line up with FIA regulations. And then, without pointing fingers directly, he dropped the bomb: it's not always the driver who makes the difference. The paddock went silent. Verstappen knows when to speak and what to say. He doesn't speculate without data. Sources close to Red Bull confirmed that telemetry showed oddities in McLaren's DRS behavior under dirty air. Verstappen, sitting in the car, had felt something different. Something off. And if there's one thing about Max, it's that he listens to the car more than the engineers. What he felt, he trusted. And that trust now puts McLaren under a microscope at the most critical stage of the season. Let's not forget the stakes. Norris is leading the championship with 3 races left. He holds 390 points. Behind him, 366 points belong to his closest rival. Verstappen, the 3-time world champion, now has 341. He's within striking distance. But the clock is ticking. Brazil was supposed to be a fatal blow to his hopes. Instead, Verstappen left Interlagos with not only a trophy but leverage. He exposed the doubts others were too afraid to voice. And now, the media, the FIA, and rival teams are all watching McLaren with a new lens. Adding fuel to the fire is the man now sitting atop Red Bull's command tower, Laurent Mekies. As Christian Horner's replacement, Mekies brings a different kind of aggression. Less political, more surgical. With years of technical and regulatory experience, he's the perfect ally for a driver like Max. Sources say it was Mekies who encouraged Verstappen to speak up, not with accusations, but with evidence. Internal simulations, tire performance overlays, even ERS deployment analysis. If anyone can translate doubt into a technical directive, it's Mekies. And so, Brazil 2025 didn't just shake up the standings. It may have shaken McLaren's foundation. Verstappen didn't just take 3rd place, he took back the psychological high ground. In doing so, he's turned the final stretch of the season into a pressure cooker for McLaren. And as the world now questions how Norris built such a lead, Verstappen just reminded everyone why he's the most complete force on the grid, both on the circuit and in the mind games that define champions. From the very start of the Brazilian Grand Prix weekend, something felt off. Not with Max Verstappen but with McLaren. Their pace was not just strong, it was abnormal. Sector times, acceleration data, energy deployment, every metric pointed to performance levels that hadn't been seen from them on similar circuits all year. And this didn't go unnoticed. Verstappen, who's made a career out of sensing even the subtlest change in car behavior, immediately raised an eyebrow. As he clawed through the pack from the pit lane, his eyes weren't just locked on apexes, they were locked on the 2 papaya cars pulling away up front. It's not that McLaren hasn't been fast this season, they have. But this was different. The level of rear grip in low-speed corners, the straight-line top speed with DRS open, the consistent tire temperatures across stints, it all painted a picture that didn't align with the physical limits most teams have battled on this demanding track. Brazil, with its harsh elevation changes and sector diversity, exposes every weakness in a car's setup. And yet, McLaren seemed immune. While others struggled with degradation, they sailed. That triggered a quiet storm inside Red Bull. Under Laurent Mekies' direction, Verstappen's garage began comparing McLaren's real-time data traces to their own simulations. What they uncovered were performance spikes at key telemetry markers, gains on straights that didn't line up with known engine maps, DRS activation windows that seemed suspiciously effective even in turbulent air, and differential behavior suggesting abnormal rake efficiency. Verstappen didn't need all the numbers to understand what he was feeling, but now, he had them. Max has always been surgical with his feedback. Unlike many drivers who rely on gut instinct or post-race analysis, Verstappen diagnoses problems during the race. That's why his comments after Brazil weren't vague, they were targeted. When he said, "There's a difference between going fast and going too fast for physics," he wasn't being philosophical. He was being strategic. He wanted the cameras rolling, the journalists taking notes, and most importantly the FIA listening. Because the message wasn't just a suspicion. It was a warning shot. And the timing couldn't be more perfect. With the championship hanging in the balance, Norris at 390, second place at 366, and Verstappen closing in at 341, every point matters. Every irregularity, every millimeter of advantage, carries championship implications. And Verstappen is no longer just chasing wins. He's challenging the entire narrative of McLaren's late-season surge. If there is even the faintest shadow of non-compliance or gray area engineering, Verstappen and Mekies will find it and bring it into the spotlight. This is where Red Bull excels, not just on track, but in technical warfare. They've done it before with fuel flow sensors, floor flexing, and brake duct designs. And now, under the cold precision of Mekies and the unshakable determination of Verstappen, they're doing it again. Brazil wasn't just a race. It was a declaration of intent. Verstappen is no longer fighting from behind. He's found the weak link in McLaren's armor, and if what he suspects is proven right, this championship battle is far from over. Red Bull's RB20 might not top every qualifying sheet anymore, but what it lacks in raw pace, it makes up for in intelligence, both mechanical and human. The Brazil Grand Prix showcased this perfectly. Starting from the pit lane with a heavily adjusted setup, Verstappen's Red Bull was configured not for Saturday headlines, but for Sunday destruction. The car was optimized for tire longevity, mechanical grip in traffic, and stability through Interlagos' unpredictable microclimates. While others set up for pole, Max and Laurent Mekies set up for war. Mekies' arrival at Red Bull marked a shift in how the team interprets data under pressure. Known in the paddock for his ability to sniff out technical loopholes and optimize under ambiguity, Mekies has brought surgical clarity to how Red Bull develops between sessions. In Brazil, his decisions during FP3 and park firm adjustments proved decisive. Every aero trim and weight distribution tweak was geared toward maximizing Verstappen's ability to fight from traffic without overheating the tires or himself. Verstappen's pit lane start was no accident. It was a calculated choice. By breaking park firm conditions and making last-minute setup changes, Red Bull willingly sacrificed grid position to build a car that could survive chaos and attack it. It worked. Max's overtakes were aggressive but controlled, his tire degradation minimal, and his energy deployment flawless. Unlike McLaren, who seemed to be pushing to maintain a lead, Verstappen was surging with rhythm, measured, deliberate, unstoppable. What makes this even more fascinating is how Red Bull are now using Verstappen's racecraft as a developmental input. Every overtake, every brake modulation, and every throttle trace is fed back into real-time strategy modeling. Max isn't just driving the car, he's co-creating it. Brazil proved once again that while others rely on simulation, Red Bull adapts live. The race wasn't just won in the garage or on the wall. It was won mid-corner, in the milliseconds Verstappen made decisions no software could. Meanwhile, under the hood, Red Bull's technical department is playing chess. They know McLaren's rise has shifted the balance of power, but they're not scrambling, they're decoding. Post-race analysis in Brazil showed that Verstappen's telemetry was cleaner, more consistent, and better balanced than Norris, even if the outright speed wasn't always there. That tells a deeper story. Verstappen isn't just catching up, he's building the trap, step by step, corner by corner. And Brazil was only phase 1. The scariest part for McLaren? Verstappen is just warming up. With 3 races to go and a car that's evolving in real time, he's now backed by a leadership structure that's ready to go to war within the regulations and expose anyone who steps outside them. McLAREN's is already working behind the scenes with FIA data requests and private consultations. If McLaren's sudden rise has even a sliver of irregularity, Red Bull will find it. And Verstappen? He'll be waiting, one hand on the wheel, the other on the detonator. Max Verstappen's true weapon has never been just his speed. It's his mental precision. In Brazil, he didn't simply execute a comeback, he orchestrated a psychological play that echoed through every garage, meeting room, and media outlet in Formula One. While Norris and McLaren celebrated a flawless weekend, Verstappen was already planting seeds of doubt not just about their pace, but about their methods. The real battle, Max understands, is not one in the DRS zone, it's one in the headspace of your rivals. In the press conference, Verstappen chose his words carefully. He never accused. He implied. He never panicked. He analyzed. By saying less, he said more. He talked about strange data patterns, about unexpected corner exits, and about performance levels that didn't match Friday's simulations. Every word was a calculated strike, not to start drama, but to introduce friction. Friction inside McLaren. Friction between engineers and strategists. Friction that could, over 3 races, lead to mistakes. That's not gossip. That's strategy. What makes Verstappen so dangerous is his timing. He never fires too early. Brazil was the perfect moment, a dramatic comeback, underdog energy, and rising McLaren hype. It gave Verstappen the moral high ground. He wasn't reacting, he was revealing. He let the audience compare 2 truths, one driver overcoming a pit lane start with brutal efficiency, and another cruising with suspicious consistency. It created a narrative where Verstappen is the hunter but also the judge. Laurent Mekies knows how to sharpen that edge. Behind closed doors, he's aligning Verstappen's instincts with Red Bull's legal and regulatory departments. Max's suspicions aren't just being aired, they're being investigated, categorized, and prepared. It's psychological warfare with a rulebook in hand. Verstappen is not distracted. He is fully focused. But he's also shaping how the world views this title fight. If McLaren falters, the story won't be about bad luck. It'll be about karma catching up.